Okay, so and I look a little crazy, but it's raining, and I went outside with my fork, and I found something for us. Let's see if I can show you. Can you see it? It's just wiggling around in my hand. I cannot believe I'm holding it. Ooh, what is that? That is an earthworm. It's a really tiny one. You can see that it's moving. All right, I'm gonna go put him back outside in just a minute. They can't live very long without wet soil. So I'm gonna get this silly hoodie off my head. And hair's a little messed up, but that's okay. So we're going to start back writing on earthworms, and I just wanted you to see one because I thought that would be more interesting. And I guess if I didn't have my camera on the computer, see if I can show you. He's on the paper right now. And he's moving. So earthworms have no eyes, they have no arms or legs, they do not have lungs, they breathe through their skin. They can sense light through their skin, and they really do not like light. So I'm going to try to make this one a little shadow, just a little bit, so till I can get him back outside in the dirt. So I want you to get your planning sheet out. And let's just go over it and make sure that we have all of the things we need. Now, earthworms are very simple creatures. That's my dog, Molly. She's growling at us. Not growling, but she's just, hi, Molly. So she's down here beside me. Oh, she's coming up. I don't want any kisses, Molly. Say hello to the boys and girls. Say hello. Oh, she really wants to lick me, but I really don't like dog kisses. I like Molly, but not her kisses. So we have... They are invertebrates. They are pink and they are squishy. They can make tunnels. So you either have to say make burrows or tunnels, whichever you like. They have stiff bristles, and those bristles help them move through the dirt. They eat dirt. They live in the dirt. And what do they like? I don't know what earthworms like. What do you think they like? They like eating dirt? I did learn that they lay eggs. And so the eggs look like tiny, tiny, tiny little lemons. And when they hatch out, they look like adult worms. Now, a lot of insects, you know, go through changes. But worms do not. They are hatched and they look like little tiny worms, and they just grow up to be bigger worms. If you go to the tropics, you can find some very big ones. But in your backyard, probably about 6 inches would be a really long one if you found one like that. But they stretch. So we could say that. They like to stretch through the dirt. Stretching is how they move. They expand and they narrow, and they expand and they narrow. So that's kind of like when we swing, we push and we pull, and makes them move through the dirt. I also found out they have a mucus that they can squirt out, and that makes it a little bit slicker when they're in hard earth, and that helps them. So this is the last one I had. They like to stretch through the dirt. Okay. So there's not a whole lot that we can learn about earthworms because they're so simple. I did also learn that if you cut the end of it off, not cut it in half, but if you cut the end of it off, it can grow a new end. It said if you cut it in half, it won't live. But if you cut the end of it off, it can grow a new end. So that's pretty neat. All right. So if you notice, you have blank pages like this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sentences. And our first word is are. So we're going to say worms are. What are worms? Worms. It's W-O-R, were and worms. Actually, like our little chart. W-O-R, worm. Worms. And then you can write R just like it's on your chart, but you need to use all baby letters because R is not a name and R is not the beginning of the sentence. Worms are, what have we said they are? Invertebrates. So let's write it. Are we going to have room to write invertebrates on that line? Probably not. Even if you're a real small writer like Micaiah, she's really good at getting words on there. Micaiah, be sure you put spaces in between your words. And Gage, be sure you're writing really neat. And Braylon, just don't write too big. Worms are, let's write invertebrates on the next line. Invertebrates. Worms are invertebrates. And what do we say invertebrates means? They don't have a backbone. They are very floppy. So see, when I hold it, it just flops. It does not have a backbone. Okay, so worms are invertebrates. We can say, we don't want to say worms at the beginning of every sentence, so what can we change it to? What's another word that could take the place of worms, Leon? They. I think we have room for they on this line if you wrote small enough. Do not crowd it though. And you need to put space in between each word. If you do not have space in, Mama, make them erase it because they know how to do this. They are, what color are they? Let's look at our notes. It says they are pink, and we told how they feel, and squishy. If you have room for squishy right there, you can write it. I don't feel like I do, so I'm going to go to the next line and write squishy, squah and squeak, squish, squish, E and baby. Now, if you wrote some other things down, Gage, I expect you might have something else because you actually have been digging up worms, and so you're kind of a little bit of an expert on them. If you looked up information online, you might have a little bit more information than the rest of us, and so you can add that in there. And always, you can write on the back. Now, you need to cut this. We're not going to cut it right on the black lines. We're just going to cut it in the middle. Okay, cut it in the middle. And that way you'll know which side to write on. And so you're going to write on the back if you have more to say. Alright, so if you have some more to say or more to write, pause this video. Now this needs to be very neat because this is also handwriting practice. So we are doing learning and handwriting at the same time. So we're catching two birds with one stone. Is that how you say it? Killing two birds with one stone? Alright, and so then we have on the next page, what can they do? So if we look here, it says can. They can make tunnels. Now, I don't want you to just have a sentence, worms can make tunnels, period, the end. That's too easy. That's too kindergarten. I need you to do a big first grade sentence. Leon, I need you to do an even bigger second grade sentence. So what words could we add to that? Worms. We could tell why they make tunnels. Why do they make tunnels? Worms make tunnels to what? Or what does it help when worms make tunnels? I know what I'm going to say. Write what you want to say down, but you can't just say worms make tunnels. You remember what it helps when worms make tunnels? It helps aerate the soil. It helps bring air to the soil so it's not just packed down so that plants can grow their roots through it. Now that's a lot of words. Do you have to say all of those words? know you can think of a short way to say those words. Or I also learned that worms help stir the soil. They help bring the lower soil up to the top. So they help mix the soil. All right, so I've given you a lot of information. Make you a good sentence, and then we'll compare mine to yours. Remember, put one finger space or a little bit of space in between each word. Mamas, do not let them run their words together. They know not to run their words together. All right, I've got one sentence written, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the tunnels. You write something, and I'm going to write something. I don't want a kindergarten sentence. They really don't give us enough room. And if they had had a whole sheet, I would have done a whole sheet, but they didn't have whole sheets. So I said, worms can make tunnels. These tunnels help the roots of plants to grow. So you can say that or something like that. Just be sure you don't say worms make tunnels, because that's more like a kindergarten would do. You can't think of all the extra words, but you're a little bigger. You're doing really good at writing, so I want to see a little bit more on there. All right, we're not going to draw the pictures yet, okay? So don't worry about drawing the pictures right now. So we have our next sheet. We're going to cut it in half. I'm just going to fold mine because I didn't bring my scissors over here with me. All right. Worms have. What do worms have? Worms have stiff bristles. Are we going to have to add some words to our notes? Worms have stiff bristles, move through the dirt. Well, that doesn't quite make sense. So what could we add in there? Do you have an idea? Worms have stiff bristles that help them move through the dirt. The notes are just to get the idea of what it is, and you can fluff it up and fill it out when you're writing. So I'm going to write worms have stiff. When you're writing, just talk about it first. Say it the way you would say it out loud and listen to yourself. And like, oh, okay, so that's how I should write it down, is how I talk. Worms have stiff bristles. Worms have stiff bristles. All right, I added my next words in there that'll make it like I'm talking. Then I'm going to say move through the dirt. And this is going to be the last page we do for today. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes, then I'm going to show you what I wrote. Okay? Excuse me. I'm just giving you a little bit of time. about ready? All right, let's see what you got. Can you read it out loud? See if you can read it slowly out loud to yourself. Read it to Mama. Or read it to your little brother or to your little sister. All right, this is what Miss Amy has. Worms have stiff bristles that help them move through the dirt. So that's how we say it when we're talking. We don't just say stiff bristles move through the dirt. So that's what you need to do. All right, so we have 3 pages done. I think 3 pages is enough for writing for one day. If you are not done with that, just keep on working on it till you get the first 3 pages done. You need to do are, can, and have. And you need to make sure that it makes complete sense and that you add a few details. Just like pink and squishy, we added those details. That gives people a picture in their mind because they've seen pink, they've seen squishy, they can kind of get an idea. So I'm going to take my little worm back outside. They can't live very long inside. He's still wiggling, so he's still okay. Yeah, but he wants to get back outside. So I'm going to take him back outside and you finish writing your paper. And mamas, if they have some spelling errors, only correct it if they're very obvious. Like if they were spelling ran and they put R-I-N, then that's an obvious one they can sound out. So as long as they are sounding it out and spelling it like it sounds, then that is fine. I just want to be sure that they are spelling it like what they hear. So check for that. Check to see that they have a capital letter at the beginning of each sentence and a period at the end. If not, have them go back and correct it. Don't let them tell you they can't do this because they have done it with me every day for almost the entire year. Not quite the entire year, but sometimes they'll get a little discouraged and you just got to boost them up and give them a little determination, and I think you'll be just fine. And show Mama what you got. All right, and do a great job. I will see you in just a little bit.